Ahoy there, my children of the Watch. Welcome to Star Wars Transmissions. I'm your boy Dan, and as always with me, my main homegirl Danny.
Hi, I couldn't tell if you were wanting me to say hello or not. Hello.
Sure, why not?
Okay, great. Hi.
Director of Madness, welcome to the chat, my friend. So, boy, oh boy, we got the Season 3 finale of The Mandalorian. It seems to be that it's kind of a mixed bag on how people feel about this episode. Some people seem to really love it. Some people seem to be kind of on the fence about it. That seems to be, at least, especially in my poll, it's kind of like 50-50. People loved it. People thought it was meh. I'm going to go out and say I really liked the episode a lot. Now that the season has ended, I do have a few little gripes, not major gripes, but some gripes about the season as a whole. But man, I thought this finale was a ton of fun. And I think our Greyhound Butters might agree with me because she just kind of saddled up over next to Danielle.
Oh yeah, she's loving life right now. She's also getting ear scratchies. But I also really enjoyed the episode, as did Butter. She just told me. It was really fun. I don't know if there was maybe the emotional weight as to the season 1 or season 2 finales, but I still thought it was a lot of fun. There were some really cool things I thought that happened in this episode. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Tell our lovely followers what my text to you said about how I felt about this episode.
I think you said you loved it. You cried a bit. I thought you were referring to the other text in which you tricked me into calling you, saying that you had something really important you had to talk to me about.
Mandalorian, of course.
I know. Well,
yeah, like
not what I was expecting.
Like, I've just become a crybaby as I continue to get older. Star Wars has turned me into an absolute crybaby, and yeah, by the end of this episode, I was just sitting at the TV crying, literally yelling, "Fuck yeah," at the TV, cheering at the end. It was a lot of fun. It was a ton of fun. I had a hell of a ride watching the episode.
I want to go back and watch it again soon because I think
Same.
I feel, and I'm not purposely, I really did enjoy it. I promise you I did enjoy it. I just sound like I'm not as excited about it, but I don't know if that's just because maybe I got pulled too into the expectations, which I don't usually like to do, or just the dread of thinking things were going to happen.
Yeah, I think that's it's not just a Star Wars thing. That's just a fan
anxiety
of
thing.
Yeah, like a fandom thing, or even just a TV show thing. Everyone gets hyped up about a finale and wants things to kind of end a certain way, or we all have our own thoughts and opinions on how things should end.
I think now that I know what's going to happen, I think I would enjoy it more a second time because I don't have that gray cloud of sadness looming over my head with being worried about what was going to happen. The little Eeyore in me.
Well, let's do this. Let's do our lovely quick little recap.
Spoiler?
Oh yeah. Also, we should probably say spoiler, which we haven't luckily said any spoilers yet without dropping our spoiler warning. But yeah, spoiler warning. If you haven't watched Chapter 24, get those booty cheeks out of here and come back and listen to us. But let's do a quick recap of Chapter 24. So the episode picks up right where we left off last week. Bo-Katan and the Mandos, they're escaping Gideon's base, and as this is happening, Axe is getting the remaining Mandos off of the Mandalorian capital ship to provide a diversion so that they could reinforce Bo's forces. Meanwhile, Grogu helps Din break free, and the two then travel deeper into the Imperial base in search of Moff Gideon. Bo and her Mandos then hide out in a cave that has been seeded with plant life once indigenous to Mandalore proving that Mandalore can be revived and Mandalorians don't have to live just in domes. An awesome battle between the Imperials and the Mandalorians soon ensues. Din and Grogu confront Gideon, and the Praetorian Guards arrive, forcing Din and Grogu to have to fight them. Oh, I love that moment. Once the guards are defeated, Bo-Katan helps Grogu and Din fight Gideon. The Darksaber is destroyed. And then Axe Woves frickin' crashes the cruiser into the base, I'm assuming killing Gideon, and almost our heroes, but Grogu uses the Force, like our boy Canon, to save himself, Bo, and Din. The Mandos then reclaim Mandalore. Din officially adopts Grogu. Oh my god, my heart seriously melted at that moment. Now known as Din Grogu, which I have been saying that to Danielle all night long. It is so much fun to say Din Grogu. And then Grief gives Din and Grogu a nice little cabin on a tract of land on Nevarro. And then, capping everything off, Din speaks with Carasynthia back on Adelphi, telling him that he and Grogu will help the New Republic in their fight against the Empire. What a frickin' fun episode. So I figured I kind of wanted to almost talk about this episode a little bit more linearly than we usually talk about things, because the vast majority of the episode is just kind of action-packed, balls to the wall action.
And it's not like it was really jumping around. It was definitely all of these things that were happening
simultaneously.
Yeah.
So we get this moment where Grogu comes and helps Din, and I couldn't help but laugh when he keeps spraying Din with Bacta, even though Din's telling him he's fine. And he's just got to spray just to make sure his papa is all right.
I know. I was like, oh, poor little Grogu. He's so worried about his dad.
And I love that IG-12 allows him to at least verbalize yes and no. And as he sees the Imperial super commandos fighting with Din, you just hear Grogu, no. I really enjoyed this.
I felt so bad with Grogu and the Bacta. He was a little worried about the last time that this happened.
I just like a stereotypical dad, okay, enough. Just help me up. Help me to my feet. Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, I thought this was really great. And, in season 2, the roles were reversed, right? Din had to save and help Grogu. And I like that here. Grogu is helping Din, and by the end of the episode, they're both helping one another. And I really enjoyed that.
I know you can definitely see how much Grogu has grown in his abilities and just what more of a team they've become versus one always saving the other.
That is an excellent way to put it. Yeah, they have definitely formed a duo that is a force to be reckoned with at this point, because, bro, my boy Din he had some sambo moves in there. He had some capoeira moves in his fight choreography. My boy knows how to throw down.
I know, and I'm trying to think of the names of the actors who played.
Oh, is it Brandon Wayne?
And
what's the other dude?
Lakeith, and I can't think of his last name.
Yeah, there's two guys that do the acting, the physical acting of Din.
So props to them.
Yeah.
They were killing it this episode.
Yeah, the choreography this episode was really cool, the fight choreography. And man, as they're traveling into this base to search for Moff Gideon, you and I were correct in our assumption that Gideon was creating clones of himself.
Heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, which I guess, was it not that obvious? To me, it felt like it was pretty obvious that he was wanting to create clones of himself for the Dark Trooper.
I mean, I thought it was. He was definitely. He's got a huge ego, and I feel like the last episode he really made that clear. But hey, you know what? It's all good. I just want to say that we were right. That's all.
We were, yeah. He was. I felt like he was laying it on thick, but yeah, there was for a brief second before we see Grogu come across Gideon and the clone of Gideon looking at him, I was like, what if it's not? For a brief second, I was like, what if it's going to be something else? But yeah, I figured it was going to be Gideon. And we see Din and Grogu basically blow these clones to smithereens.
Yeah, poor Grogu was terrified.
Yeah, Grogu was scared out of his IG-12 pants.
Aw, poor little guy.
And of course, as this is happening, we see the story playing out with Bo-Katan and the remaining Mandalorian forces. And I really like this scene as they escape the Imperial base to kind of regroup. And Skinny Pete and the other, which I did try to find their names. Right now, they're just unidentified unidentified Mandalorian scout. And I think the other dude is Mandalorian judge, I think. Unidentified Mandalorian judge.
What terrible names. They're like terrible.
Well, they just haven't been named yet. But I'm trying to remember because I think in last episode, did they say that one was a scout and one, I can't remember. But either way, silly. At this point, we don't know their names yet. But they take them to this cave and we find out that, hey, during their time on Mandalore, they basically have been working to grow plants on the planet and revive some of the plant life that has been indigenous to the planet that disappeared. Because as we've seen in The Mandalorian, as we've seen in the Clone Wars and in Rebels, we went to did we go to Mandalore? Yes, we did go to Mandalore and Rebels, yes. Mm-hmm. Mandalore, the planet of Mandalore, is scorched from what was called the Mandalorian Cataclysm. It was a conflict between the Jedi and the Mandalorians that resulted in the planet Mandalore basically just becoming scorched to the point where Mandalorians had to live in domes. Well, because now the Great Purge of Mandalore has happened, there's pretty much no Mandalorians other than a handful living on the planet. The planet is kind of reviving itself. And these Mandalorians that have stayed behind have been helping to plant and seed indigenous plant life onto the planet, which I think is great because that's signifying, just as the armor has said multiple times, we are seeing an age of rebirth of the Mandalorian. We're seeing the Mandalorians grow back into the people that they were prior to this conflict with the Empire, and even potentially before the centuries of civil war that have plagued Mandalorian. So I really, really like this moment.
I kind of got the impression that they didn't necessarily plant everything either, that it was also some of it is like natural rebirth or like natural regrowth from being around and being seeded. So that's really cool. And I know I liked how Bo made a comment about how like she's never seen plant life on Mandalore other than in the domes, and how crazy that is.
I love the look of all of their faces, like Koska Reeves. Her face, she was like blown away when she sees what's in the cave. I really enjoyed that because, yeah, they have never seen plant life like this on Mandalore outside of the domes. And as far as they are aware, this should not exist. So I thought this was really cool. It was a really nice moment. And it was another moment I was like, fuck yes. Score one for the Mandos, baby. Yes.
The back.
Yes. Yohan, welcome to the chat, my friend. And then, man, dude, how incredibly sick. I will never get tired of seeing a squad of Mandalorians drop out of a ship and then flying into battle. It is so freaking sick. And seeing the armorer and seeing Bo-Katan, dude, I was like, is the armorer going to wield a gun? She hasn't, but like, how is she going to fight people with her forging tools? And man, she does. And it is just as sick as you would think.
I know. I thought this scene was so much fun and like so cool to watch. I thought they did such a great job with it too. It was so exciting. And I know I yelled into you and you came out and watched it again because I'm just like, this is so cool.
Oh, it was great. And you and I both are in agreement here. I really like that the armorer, that axe, Koska Reeves.
Koska Reeves.
None of them were spies. I am so happy that none of them were spies, that they're all still down for the Mandalorian cause, at least as far as we're aware at this point.
I still feel suspicious, but with this episode, I was pleasantly surprised that all of the people we were speculating were spies are not yet, to our knowledge. Like, when the armor was like in the dropship and she was ready and she's like jumped from the side, I was like, okay,
boy.
She's down
Shit's
to clown.
Getting real. Yeah.
She's ready.
Which, like I said at the start, I have some gripes about this season. They're not super massive gripes, but one of them is relating to the spies episode and the title of that episode and the armorer to some extent, how she's been depicted in this season, which we'll talk more about. But it felt awesome knowing that the armorer is still a Mandalorian. She's still, like you said, down to clown. Axe Woves is down for the cause. Like my boy went out swinging, not even going out. He was ready to go out swinging if he had to. And like at the end of the episode, he is yelling for Mandalore. Like it was just so dope.
Like even when he got to the ship, I was kind of like, because we were still unsure, like what's he going for here? Sorry. What's he going for here? Is he going to be, is he going for the Mandalorians? Is he faking it? Is he going to like, I don't know, trick them and not tell them and like scoot away? I don't know.
I thought the same. I was so worried when he tells all those Mandalorians, oh, get off this cruiser, get to the drop ships. I'll act as our diversion. I'm like, oh my God, what is he scheming here? Is this all a ploy because he's really working for the Empire? I was so worried.
Like waiting for him to jump into hyperspace or something.
I was so worried that he was going to do something, and I was pleasantly surprised that he did not. I am very happy that Axe did not betray the Mandalorian. So yeah, the fighting in this episode was sick. The Mandalorians fighting in the air against the Imperial super commandos was incredible. Like we've seen this a bunch in Rebels and in the Clone Wars, but in live action, and especially how the camera, we get moments where just very quickly the armorer jacks someone up with her forging tools, and then we go to a next shot of like Bo-Katan super fast, and just how we got these scenes and the choreography and the cinematography was just so dope.
I know, and we kind of talked about this, how like being able to see how the Mandos use their jetpacks has been super cool, and not just seeing it in cartoons, like seeing it in live action. Like at one point, like Bo kind of like slid across the platform. Like, I don't remember if she hit somebody or whatever it was, but she like slid across the platform and then fell off and then like had her jetpack on and like smacked someone. And it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like they're so creative in the ways that they're fighting.
I totally agree. I really enjoy that. We see Din do that when he basically starts his fight against Moff Gideon, which that's a good segue, right? Because once Din and Grogu get to Moff Gideon, Gideon is pissed because he reveals,
so mad.
as we've been talking about, that, hey, I wanted to make an army of clones that would be force sensitive to be able to rule the galaxy. And he's fuming, bro. If steam coming out of his ears.
I just want to be like, yo, if it was that easy to get rid of all of the clones and all of your work that you have done, like you're doing something wrong.
I watched Star Wars Explain's review of the episode, and he mentioned something that I've heard him talk about a bunch. His take is, I think anyone can access the Force or wield the Force, even if they're not like born Force sensitive, if you are able to really be balanced in the Force and be balanced in your heart and mind, basically, right? And he was saying how it's ironic because, like many Darksiders, Gideon is trying to get the fast, easy route to get what he wants, to be able to wield the Force. Whereas if he were a balanced individual, a good-hearted individual, maybe he would be able to wield the Force. I don't know if I completely agree with Star Wars Explained's take with that, but I do think that it's very much a dark side characteristic. I want to take the easier way to get what I want that I think I deserve.
For whatever reason,
right?
I'm the smartest, I'm the fastest, I'm the best.
As opposed to doing things right or doing things in a fair and a balanced way.
Mm-hmm.
I said this to you last week. I freaking love Moff Gideon's armor. Like, some of the sickest looking armor in all of Star Wars.
I know, and I'm like, did we technically see a body at the end?
I thought the same thing, and I'm like, come on, we got like, I really do not want Star Wars to keep dipping into that well of, well, we didn't see, but yeah, I did think that as well. I'm going to say he's dead.
That's kind of my hope too. I kind of just would rather, let's make it clean. Clean and be done with it. Make way for Thrawn.
Especially because, right? Let's start paving, which I think that's the case. I don't think it's a coincidence that we get Thrawn's name dropped last week. I think Gideon being killed in this episode is paving the way for Thrawn moving forward.
Make way for the new big bad.
Yeah. And man, so after Din and Moff Gideon start fighting, then next show up the baddies, the Praetorian Guards, which, man, I am like in love with their helmets. They got to be terrible to look through, but man, they are so cool looking.
I was literally just thinking, I was like, even how did the actors see anything? What are they taking off their, like, choreography has to be perfect and they're taking off their helmets in between takes? Like, what's going on?
Which, we got that scene of Din where you could see through his helmet. I believe it was Din, right?
This episode? What? I don't know what you're talking about.
I think it was when he was coming to, was it the beginning of the episode? I think he's coming to.
Oh.
And you could see it's the shot is from his point of view, and you could see through his like visor, and I'm like, man, they look sick, their helmets, but man, that's gotta suck to see through. Just that.
Sure, Pedro Pascal has said when he has worn the helmet, it's been terrible.
Oh, I bet it is. I can't imagine it would be fun. Although, in fairness to the Mandos, like we hear when they put it on, it's got that like almost like air suction, kind of a noise. It's like a
climate controlled,
probably. Yeah, there's probably a bunch of doodads and doohickeys in the helmet to make it a little bit more comfortable. But yeah, the Praetorian Guards look so sick. And oh my God, when they were chasing after little Grogu, let me back up here for a second. When you see little Grogu running away, I was like, oh, because you and I talked that I was so worried that someone was going to die this episode.
I know.
That I was like, I knew, and I said this last week, there's no chance in hell anyone at Lucasfilm would okay Grogu dying. So I wasn't worried for Grogu. I was worried that, oh my God, this could potentially be how Din dies. The Praetorian Guards go to kill Grogu and Din sacrifices himself. So I was so nervous at this point.
I know we talked about Din last week. I mean, Bo too. What was I just going to say? I don't remember. I don't know. But
was it something to do with Bo?
Were you talking about? No, were you actually talking about Grogu when he was in the IG-12 suit, getting like, oh my gosh, that was terrifying.
Yes, when they were coming after him,
stalking him down, and the doors were shutting, and all you could see is like Din watching him leave because he was still fighting with Gideon. I was like, no.
Gideon shoots the rocket at him and knocks him down. Then I think he just starts shooting his blaster at him and knocks him down. So Din couldn't get to that room in time. So I was so nervous, but luckily our homegirl Bo-Katan arrives. And I loved how she tells him, go get your son or go save your son.
Oh my gosh.
So dope. And just her like, let's go, Gideon. I'm going to get you this time. Loved it. And I think at this point, I think she flew into Moff Gideon here. I could be wrong, but I think like you were saying before, I think she flies into him and knocks him down. And that's where she gives Din the opportunity to get to Grogu.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it was... The Mandos flying into one another is so great.
It really is. It's just a ton of fun. You and I tried to, like, I can't even begin to tell you how many times I watched the scene of Grogu with the Praetorian Guards, and then Din and Grogu fighting the Praetorian Guards. This was like the best looking screenshot I could get, because you and I were talking about this. We're a bunch of olds. We watch stuff with closed captioning on. And one of the things that I absolutely loved, if you didn't watch with closed captioning, or maybe if you did and you missed this, when Grogu is up in the like rafters or whatever and is being chased by the Praetorian Guards, you could hear him straight up laughing. The closed captions say that he is laughing.
I know, he was like, and it wasn't even like, it was babbling and laughing. And I was like, I'm nervous for him, obviously, but like clearly he's messing around with him. He is having, I don't think it. I feel like it would have said nervous laughter if it needed to, but just laughter. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So clearly he's just toying with them at that point, which I loved.
Doing his little flips, just bringing him around in a circle. Oh, he was having a good old time.
And then, geez Louise, we get like one of the best moments in the episode. And, well, actually, let me go back here for a second, because I
feel like we skipped a bunch.
Yeah, I am kind of skipping a little bit. And I want to talk a little bit about the fight between Grogu and Din, with Grogu Din against the Praetorian Guards, because I love, like we mentioned earlier, I love that it's not just Din saving Grogu, and it's not just Grogu saving Din. Here, both of them are helping save one another. They're helping protecting each other's lives, and that now Grogu is a valuable part of this Clan Mudhorn.
I know. The first time Grogu kind of like swiped one of the Praetorian Guards away, I was like, did he just use the Force on him, like with ease? Look at him go.
Yeah.
I was so proud.
I really like that. And again, this has definitely been a motif, a theme throughout this season, is the theme of unity, of coming together. You're stronger together than you are divided. And we're seeing that this is just another example of that in this scene of Din and Grogu fighting together against these Praetorian Guards. And I have to say, like, you don't see blood or anything, but there are moments where I'm like, dude, this is kind of gruesome. This is kind of like, this is violent. Like Din just straight up stabbing people in the neck.
He stabbed a lot of people.
Shooting the Praetorian Guard like up from their neck up into the Praetorian Guard's helmet.
Yeah, Din was definitely quite violent in this episode. He did a lot of stabby.
Yeah. I mean, they're coming after his son. What do you expect?
Violence. He's got to take him out.
I wonder what Din's kill count is at this point. There's probably a YouTube video out there with Din's kill count.
Oh my God, if somebody did it for Chopper, somebody's absolutely doing it for Din.
His kill count's got to be high at this point. So then we get the moment that started me crying. The tears beginning. I didn't know what to expect here. I should have realized that, oh, Grogu's going to save them with the Force. When Axe is coming in hot with that cruiser, that light cruiser into the base, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, what the hell is going to happen to Din, Grogu, and Bo-Katan? And that's where I started to think again, is one of them going to die?
Mm-hmm.
I was so caught up in that thought that I didn't think that, oh, Grogu's going to save them. So when we see the reveal of Grogu using the Force to save them, I was so relieved and just started.
I know. I like how Bo tried to like shield them with her little baby shield.
Like, nah, Grogu's got you, girl.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Axe was trying to warn them. He really was, but his comms kept cutting in and out.
Which again, big up to Axe, man. Like straight up driving an Imperial light cruiser into the base and jumping out at the last minute. Like that could have gone wrong really quickly.
I know. And I also, when he like hopped into the pilot's chair, I was like, what the hell is he doing? Because he like was rubbing the side, or like rubbed the side of the armrest, and I was like,
it was the controls. Yeah,
okay, that's what I figured.
I was like, what the heck? And then I realized, like, oh, this is how he's the propulsion system or whatever. This is how he was maneuvering.
Like,
I didn't take a screenshot of it, but I loved the shot of the gauntlets, the Mandalorian dropships going into the clouds, and then a second later, the ties shoot up and they miss the gauntlets because the cloud gives them cover.
I know. I thought that was super cool too. I really liked that.
I saw some people complaining about the fact that Moff Gideon could get communications across the galaxy, but the Mandos are having difficulty communicating with one another on Mandalore from orbit to the planet. And my thought is that the Imperials were jamming communications because they didn't want people to know that they're on Mandalore, right? So Gideon was having comms jammed, but it's the only thing is that Axe, when he's flying up to the cruiser, his comms start cutting in and out. But I'm still thinking that it's,
I don't know, maybe I feel like that would make sense, or especially like if Gideon, like, he knows he has a specific channel to use, like everything else could be jammed at that point. Maybe the Mandalorians found a channel that was okay, because clearly when they were like close to each other, it worked.
Yeah,
but it was like any long distance was having an issue.
My thought is that they were the Imperials were jamming communications,
like long range ones.
Yeah, that would be my thought, so that people couldn't get messages out of the system if the Imperials were discovered.
And I mean, in all honesty, like a detail like that, like I feel like it's very easily to come up with an explainable reason as to why.
Yeah, I concur.
It's not that bad.
I concur. So we got to talk about this because on top of my emotions, right? We see this. How could you, if you're a Star Wars Rebels fan, how could you not think about Kanan Jarrus in this moment?
Exactly where my mind went.
I was just like, it made me
a blubbering pile of tears.
It made me love the moment and hate it at the same time because, it's a great callback to Rebels, but also it's just that heartbreaking reminder of what happens to Kanan. But it totally made me think of Kanan and his sacrifice to save Hera and Ezra.
Sabine was on the ship.
Yeah, and Sabine, that's right. Yeah, and Sabine. Was Chopper with them? No, Chopper wasn't with them, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think he was either. But I really like that. And my thought is, especially since Dave Filoni is a part of creating The Mandalore, that this was 100% intentional.
Absolutely. Can you go back to the Grogu one just for a second? I also, and I know I showed you this, his little thingies just reminded me of the Elmo gif as well that I showed you.
It is, yeah. This was a really great moment. And like I said, I love that I did not even think, let me go back. I didn't even think that, this is how they're going to be saved. I was so wrapped up in, oh my God, one of them is going to die, that I was not even thinking that Grogu was going to save them by using the Force. And I love that Grogu, like after it's all said and done, he just plops down for a rest, where in the past we've seen him like pass out from using the Force, where you're seeing his strength in the Force grow, and now he's able to use the Force in a more powerful way and not completely physically deplete his energy.
Absolutely. And I think he doesn't, like, he definitely looks like he's trying hard, but I don't think he doesn't look as if he's overexerting himself like he has in the past. Like, you can still see his eyes are open a little bit. He's kind of, he knows he's got to hold it for a little bit longer. And like you said, he's just kind of, I'm just going to take a sit right now when he's done.
His training with Luke has paid off. It's paying dividends, bro. All right, so let's move and groove. We get the adoption scene, I'll say. I love this moment. And again, here I was, a ball of tears. I freaking love this moment so much.
In the living waters.
In the living waters.
I know. I do want to say, why didn't we should have gotten another little Mandalorian that maybe hadn't been baptized yet. I didn't need to see another Ragnar scene. I was kind of like, okay, fine, you're making it official, but like, you couldn't tell me you couldn't get another kid. Just throw another kid in there.
I wonder, could it be because of Ragnar's father?
Yeah,
and maybe we're like, hey, in honor of your father, we're going to do this. But yeah, I did wonder, like, why are they doing this again with Ragnar? And you could be right, because we want to make it official. Maybe to pay homage to Paz. I don't know.
It was the only time that he's been out in the open and he hasn't been tried to be eaten by somebody. So that's great. I mean, the Mythosaur could have tried to eat him too. The other 2 times that he was like out in the open by himself.
I thought for a second that Grogu was going to speak.
I was hoping. I thought he might, but that's okay. I can keep waiting. I'm okay with that.
I agree. And yeah, so after Ragnar gets baptized, we see Din holding I just love Din holding Grogu too. But he brings Grogu up because he says he wants Grogu to rank up from foundling to apprentice and officially become Din's apprentice. And the armorer says, well, okay, but Grogu can't speak. And unless he can't speak, the only way for him to be able to become an apprentice is for his parent to be basically sign off on him being an apprentice. But hey, we don't know if his parents are alive, and even if they are, they're probably far away. And Din says, I'll adopt Grogu. And I seriously just started crying my eyes out at this moment. Like, I love this moment so freaking much. It was so great. And we get Din Grogu, man. I love saying Din Grogu.
Din Grogu does have a nice ring to it. It sure is hell better than Grogu Djarin.
Which, okay, so yeah, let's talk about this. Because Danny Girl and I were like the math meme lady trying to decipher this.
Sure.
So Cubs,
the best I got.
I agree. This moment was so great. It was an excellent moment. Okay, so let's talk about Din Grogu, because for a second there, I was like, wait a second, is Din the Mandalorian's last name or his first name? We've been calling him Din. Whenever I refer to him, it's usually as Din. And my thought was that Djarin was his last name, or his family name, I should say. And how the armorer is saying it, it would seem as if Din is the family name rather than Djarin. But then if you compare that to Bo-Katan, her family name is Kryze. And her family name does not begin her name. It's Bo-Katan Kryze. Same thing with Ragnar's father, Paz Vizsla. Vizsla is his family name, his last name. Tar Vizsla. Trying to think of other. Satine Kryze, right? There, we have so many examples of these Mandalorians that have.
Ren.
What'd you say?
Sabine
Wren, right?
Clan Ren.
The only thing that Danielle and I could think of is, what did you say?
It was just stupid. Just that people weren't going to be able to say Grogu Djarin. Like, it's such a mouthful.
It is
versus saying Din Grogu. I mean, one obviously sounds much better and rolls off the tongue easier. So, like, are you really going to run around saying Grogu Djarin?
Or
no.
Djarin Grogu. Djarin Grogu sounds so. I mean, we would say it if that were the case. I would say it without any qualms. But Din Grogu is so much better. It rolls off the tongue so much easier, and it's fun to say. Din Grogu.
Maybe we'll get an explanation next season. I don't know. I just thought it was a little detail that was kind of funny.
I agree, but yeah, I totally was like, wait a second here. Din's the family name, but all right. One of the things that, of course, the nerd in me, when the armorer was like, okay, I'm going to sign off on this. He's going to be your apprentice. Now you must take him on journeys just as you did. Which now I'm like, I want to know who Din was apprenticed to.
That would be cool.
Right? If we get a flashback scene, how great would it be? Opening scene of season 4 is a flashback of Din training as an apprentice to then Grogu training as Din's apprentice.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be fun.
But I want to say, I feel like I'm a little sad we didn't see the Grogu baptism scene. I know we saw a bunch of like.
Well, here's the thing, though. I don't think it's the same. Just becoming an apprentice, I don't think it's the same as taking the creed.
Oh, okay.
I think it's going to be different. Like my thought would be the next step is you take the creed, and now you get your helmet, and you don't take it off. That's my thought. I could be wrong.
Okay.
But that's my thought.
Maybe Bo-Katan can sponsor Grogu as well, so then he doesn't have to ever put a helmet on.
Yes. Could we talk about, for a people that hate the Jedi so much, they have a lot of similarities to the Jedi.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Maybe that's why they hate each other so much.
Maybe.
Just like, you took that idea. No, you took it.
And then, bro, can we talk about how my man Grogu lifts his hands and 100% connects with the mythosaur?
Oh, without a doubt. I was hoping the mythosaur would come greet him, but hey, it's okay. Well, we can wait till another season.
I will die on this hill. The Mandalorian is not about Din. The Mandalorian is not about Bo-Katan. The Mandalorian is about Grogu. That's who this story is about. I am going to die on that hill. Until I'm proven wrong, that's the hill I'm dying on.
I think you're right. I think Grogu is going to be riding the mythosaur at some point in time in the future.
I think so. Which I saw. This is why you can't.
Don't go
too many
on YouTube.
Too many
Don't
shit
go.
posters. I saw people, and I think I told you this last night. People were saying that today's episode was going to be called the Mythosaur, which I was like, oh hell yeah, that means the myths. Well, we did see the Mythosaur, but my thought was, oh, Bo-Katan's going to ride the Mythosaur.
No, the return.
I like that we got, and you could see it. The face of the Mythosaur is more visible than back in episode 2. Episode 2, yeah. I was hoping we would get like a really nice shot of the Mythosaur. It's one weird looking creature.
It really is. But you know what? We'll take it. I'll take a little whatever crumbs they want to give me. I can wait a little bit longer before I see the Mythosaur and Grogu unite or meet up or whatever.
Yes. And so to me, and this is why I told you after watching this, I was like, I want to watch Obi-Wan, because I felt almost the same way watching the finale of Obi-Wan that I did watching this season finale, where it was like I was a mess, just crying my eyes out, and like scene after scene, I'm like, you're just making it worse now, man. The tears just keep coming, because here I am, I'm like, okay, Din adopts Grogu, like I'll be able to stop crying. I'll get my act together. And then we get this fucking awesome moment of the Great Forge being relit and the armorer passing the torch to Bo-Katan. And to me, that was symbolizing you are the leader of our people. And all these Mandalorians just standing there being super pumped, and Aq starting that chant for Mandalore, and they're pounding their armor, their gauntlets. I was like, I literally yelled, fuck yeah, to the TV. I was so pumped at this moment. I loved it.
I also really liked that you can see when you look in the crowd, like you see all the Mandalorians standing together, like those with helmets and those without.
Yes.
And it wasn't like in some of the previous episodes when you would see the big group, you kind of saw them separated from one another, but here they're fully integrated and watching their leader and their armorer do this ceremonial lighting of the Great Forge once again. So I'm like super pumped and really excited for the future of the Mandalorians.
Absolutely. And, you know, we talked about this last week when we see Aq and the Night Owls come to Nevarro and meet the Children of the Watch for the first time. You see this big chasm between both groups, both tribes, and we see that tension play throughout last week's episode, where here, just like you said, to your point, they are together, unified as one people. There are those not wearing masks, or their helmets, excuse me, and there are those that are wearing their helmets. And to me, I've said that, I mean, we've probably said this week after week, like, this to me is so much more cool than a Mandalorian Civil War. This is like what I wanted to see with this season. I wanted to see Mandalorians being unified, and we got it, and this was so dope. And I hope this is how the story continues. We've gotten enough Civil War with Mandalorians. I want to see the Mandalorians at their full potential being unified and coming together.
I agree. I think they can they're a force to be reckoned with, which we saw in this episode. Like when they work together and work towards a common goal. And let's say there's obviously going to be infighting at some point in time, just because of how different they have been with their ideals and things. But man, seeing them together,
it was so
unified.
Dope.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, I mean, just like how sick is this? How dope does that look? And yeah, just the Great Forge, like lit up like that, is just so cool. It was a really dope moment. And as we mentioned, so I mentioned this to you that clearly my thought is that this season is setting up other stories to come from this, for lack of a better term, Mandoverse, and the stories that are going to play out during this New Republic era. This is definitely, I don't think, this scene specifically of Din traveling to Adelphi and speaking with Carasynthia is setting up, I think, season 4. But I think a lot of what we've seen play out in this season is setting up plot lines and stories that we're going to see play out potentially in Ahsoka, play out in The Mandalorian in future seasons, potentially other shows like Skeleton Crew, maybe Dave Filoni's movie. But yeah, we returned to Adelphi, and I love that Grogu immediately went to the snacks.
Boy loves to snack.
Attack on those snacks, bro.
He sure does. I think it's so funny. Like, there's a running joke that from the Ringerverse with one of the hosts, Mal, and it's always talking about how Grogu, like, Din does not feed Grogu enough. And I feel like she's going to have a heyday with this because, like, clearly this poor kid is not eating to sustain the growth that he needs. Like, he was just, like, devouring his food.
Dude, there's got to be a YouTube video out there of just Grogu and, like, the noises that he's made throughout the season and is, like, babbling.
Have you not been on TikTok? There's literally, and I can't think of the person
Dana,
right now.
See my
I know.
I don't get to spend a ton of time.
Well, you should check your feed because I know I've sent you at least probably 2 of them.
Probably.
There is somebody, and I can't think of who it is, who after each episode this season, they've been putting together the sounds of Grogu from that episode.
Oh my God. And you've sent it to me on TikTok?
Uh-huh.
All right. I'll have to check that out tonight. Because, just hearing as he's eating, like, it's so good.
I know. He was a hungry man.
And so when Din and Grogu, they arrive at Adelphi, they speak to Carasynthia, and Din tells Carson, like, hey, bro, I've got an apprentice. I'm going to be training him. I'm a bounty hunter by trade, but I need to be more selective in the assignments that I pick because I've got a child now that I'm taking care of.
I gotta be a stand-up citizen.
So I want to help you. I want to help the New Republic, but Carson tells him that will never be allowed. So, hey, we're going to do this off the books. And in return, small advance, I want that assassin droid head. And we get our boy IG-8, the return of IG-88, which I really enjoyed this moment as well.
IG-88 or IG-11?
Oh my God, I always confuse it. No, you're right. I'm sorry. It's IG-11. Because yes, IG-88 is from the original trilogy days. IG-11, because yeah, that's why it's IG-12.
Yeah.
With
it's okay.
Mecha Grogu.
I had one of those, does this compute moments again? Am I right? Do I dare question your Star Wars knowledge?
I sometimes mix up IG-11 and IG-88, but I like the paint job. I like that the Inzel. So I'm assuming the Inzelans did the work, and they're like super excited when we see IG-11 appear.
I was trying to peep if he has a new arm because the IG-12 mech suit definitely had an arm chopped off by a Praetorian guard. Oh yeah.
Like, I want, like I told you, I want a cartoon of Grogu traveling the galaxy with the Anzelans. I would straight up, I don't care if it's a young child show, I would watch it.
I was going to say, I feel like it would be so cute in that the illustration, that new kid show that's coming out.
Oh yeah, the was it Yes, the High Republic show. I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's coming out on the 4th, right?
I don't remember when it's coming out, but I feel like that would be
that people lost their mind about a child.
We're not gonna talk about it. I'm just excited to introduce Star Wars to my niece.
Yes.
I think that's gonna be a great opportunity. But yeah, I thought it was super exciting. I think that would be a super cute, like, even if you did little shorts with Grogu and the Anzellans.
Grogu and the Anzellans, that would be so much fun. And I would watch
Squeezy!
I would watch every second of it, even if it's made for 5-year-olds. Like, I would still watch it.
Absolutely. Heck yeah.
We got to give a shout out to our boy R5. We cannot not talk about R5.
Coming clutch.
I love this moment, dude, of R5. Like, obviously, definite R2-D2 vibes here. Although R2 is way more courageous than R5. Although R5 did the job.
He did.
A little bit more frightened in his little
little nervous Nelly.
Yeah. And the mouse droids had me cracking up. Mice droids?
Yeah, the mouse droids.
I don't know if it would be called mice, plural, but we're going to just say mouse droids. But yeah, I thought this was great. I don't think we've ever seen them with sirens.
I also love how
flashing lights.
R5 was like so nervous with just one, and then the mouse droid pulls around the corner with like a slew of them.
You know, sadly, I don't know the purpose of the mouse droids, like what they do. I guess they're just, my thought is they travel around the base and just look for almost like
garbage. I don't know.
I think they can do garbage. I'd have to read up on what the purpose of a mouse droid is. I'm not 100%. It's the one thing I'm going to say. I'm not entirely sure of what the purpose of a mouse droid is. But my thought is garbage, security, that sort of stuff.
They didn't do a very good job keeping anything secure.
They just were bumping into R5. Like, get the hell off our base. But yeah, this scene was great. Now, I got some bones to pick with you people.
Pick those bones.
I like this episode a lot. I like this season a lot. I said this to you before, I've mentioned it. I still think, I'm going to say that I think this is my favorite season of The Mandalorian. I do have some gripes, and I will say that I can kind of understand where some of the criticisms for this season are. I don't know if empathize would be the right word, but I can understand where people are coming from with their criticisms for the show.
Okay.
Because one of my thoughts was, as I mentioned, was the spies. At the end of the episode, I went back to the title of that episode, The Spies, and how we theorize, many people theorize, the spy is the armorer. Because the armorer, we still don't know really much about her. We don't know that much about her story, what her motivations are, why she does the things that she does. But yet we had an entire episode almost of Dr. Pershing. What the hell was the point of that episode? Now that the season's ended, yeah, we got the moments of finding out that Moff Gideon escaped New Republic custody. And that we get the reveal of Beskar being mixed up in it. At the time, we had no clue. But think about that. Those are quick. The Moff Gideon escaping is a quick sentence during a conversation with Pershing and these other ex-Imperials. The reveal of Gideon, of the Beskar being involved in Gideon's escape, last scene in the episode. When you take that out of the equation, what the hell was the point of that episode?
I mean, I would say like meeting Ilaria Kane, which could have been done in a different way.
What was the point of her story line or this episode or this season?
Unless she comes back and has something bigger to do. It's a great question, because really she was feeding Gideon information, but to what end at this point? To
what end?
Because now Gideon is dead. So what other info does she have?
I mean, clearly his motivations were he wants to take over the galaxy, he wants to destroy the New Republic, and that was his like mole on the inside. But to me, those are all very quick moment. You could explain that very fast, not almost an entire episode's worth. And I will say that I really liked that episode a lot. I thought that episode was great. I thought it was really cool seeing the inner workings of the New Republic. And this was this is I think an overarching issue that comes back to, well, not last week's episode, the previous week when we were on Plazar 15, where what are we doing spending so much time devoted to this?
Yeah,
when we've only got 8 episodes, man. And I think that's my gripe with this. This is probably my favorite season of The Mandalorian, but I can understand why there are people that are like, this season has kind of been trash, or I'm iffy about this season, because when you think about those sorts of things, I think the episode with Dr. Pershing was setting up other storylines for other Star Wars stuff, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, because at this point it just kind of feels like it was a little more standalone. Like if maybe the Pershing storyline paid something off, or like, I don't know, learned that Pershing was more involved or something. I don't know, something else happened to tie him in, because like at this point, if he's mind flayed, like he's done. Why did we spend 40 minutes with him?
And that's my gripe is, why are we as a fan base and an audience questioning the motives of the armor, who really at this point we could say is a staunch believer in the Mandalorian people, even if it's flawed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But because we know little about her, because we're kind of like, she seemed a little sketchy this season, like, hey, one moment, don't take off. Din, you need to go bathe in the living waters. You're an apostate. Get the hell out of here. The next moment, she's telling Bo-Katan, hey, go travel the galaxy. Take your helmet off. It's okay. And as much as I enjoy that, I could understand why someone would be like, yo, what the hell? When we had almost an entire episode devoted to Dr. Pershing that really didn't do much to move the story along when you think about it.
Or I feel like some of that information that we got in that episode could have been presented in another way. Like it would have been, I think, cool. I don't know, cool is the right word, but like I think people would have appreciated it more if we saw more information on the armor and maybe some more of her motivations to kind of tie into what the overarching theme of this series or the season was, and with the Mandalorian people.
And I mentioned this to you before, like I've watched interviews, I've read interviews of Jon Favreau, and he's referenced Game of Thrones multiple instances, how that's kind of been like an influence, at least to some extent, with how he envisions telling the story, where Game of Thrones first season was kind of more a little bit smaller scale, and then season 2 it expanded. And I just feel like, hey man, if that's the route you're going, like you're not doing the best job.
Gotta tighten up on those storylines.
You gotta tighten it up a little bit, man.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm like, I can understand where people are coming from with the criticisms. Again, why are we naming an episode The Spies if literally it's just, as far as I'm aware at this point, The Spy is just that the episode is referring to is Elia Kane at the very beginning of the episode. To me, like, why are we calling the episode The Spy? And you and I were talking about this before we started streaming. Like, are the spies still around? Is that it for the spies? Were there ever more than one spy? I have no clue. And I think that's another problem in and of itself, that, hey, the season's ended and we have no clue what the deal was with the spies, or if it was just the episode title was referring to Elia Kane, as maybe there's just spies that the Empire has within the New Republic. But again, I think that's a problem with the storytelling when we're like not entirely sure, and that title is making people question the motives of someone like the Armorer and Axe Woves and Kafka Reeves, when really they all along they're Mandalorians to their bones, as far as we could tell with the finale.
Yeah, I don't know. I find it really odd, and I don't. Okay, and I think I said this to you earlier, like, yeah, we'll find out next season or something, but like at that point, it wasn't anything that was a cliffhanger enough to really like keep people thinking and talking about it. Like, I feel like it's done. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
Like, that seems silly now.
And then, like, going back to, which I love, don't get me wrong, you heard me say I really like that we're seeing the Mandalorians coming together where you see Mando's not wearing their helmet, but like, so are the children of the Watch, like, they're still following the creed, right? Like, they're still going to go hard in the paint with following the creed, but they're okay with others not?
I mean, otherwise, are they going to get... They're going to have to accept it if they want other Mandalorians to come and join us. Join us. I'm a Mando now. Didn't you know?
We're all Mandos in our hearts.
But like, and I said this to you before, like, I thought it was kind of weird that they picked Ragnar to do the bathe in the living waters again. Like, okay, not only have we seen this, we've seen it with him when he was almost eaten.
Yeah.
Like, pick another kid. There's plenty of kids.
Pick another kid, or, hey, a quick throwaway line like, this is a great moment. This is a great moment in the history of Mandalore. We are now coming together as a people that share different values but can unify. Like, that literally was 5 seconds. Like, it could be such one sentence is all it takes, and I think that's some of the gripes I have with this story is they leave certain details to the imagination at times that I think should be explained.
Yeah, and like, I was honestly thinking like, oh, are we gonna because we're now actually at the living waters, are they all going to be like rebaptized or like get their chance to take a dip? Because like, really the only one who's been probably baptized in living waters is Bo-Katan, because she was part of the royal family.
Probably, yeah, you're probably right. I never thought about it. You're probably right. Bo-Katan is probably the only one, because I don't know if the general populace of Mandalore had access to the living waters. I don't know if it was just like the Imperial family.
That's kind of what it sounded like.
Or the royal family, excuse me.
When she talked about it. So, okay, so Bo-Katan and Din, technically.
Technically, yeah. So you're right. Yeah, that's an excellent point. So yeah, I think that's where I get hung up with the and season 1 and season 2 aren't completely perfect, but I really enjoy them. And I will say the same thing about season 3. It's not perfect, but I still really enjoy them. And I had screenshots of Dr. Pershing and Plaisir 15 that I forgot to show you guys. My bad. But yeah, I think in retrospect, to me, it almost makes the Plaisir 15 episode even worse. Whereas, like, what the heck was the point of that episode?
I'm still going to go with it was to show Bo and Din working well together. And I know we saw that before. I just also want to point out what a cute little kitty cat Grogu looks like. I
know, but here I am saying this, but I'm thinking, well, let me play devil's advocate for a second, because really Star Wars, George Lucas's I don't want to say his whole inspiration, but part of the influence that George Lucas took when creating this universe was the old serials of like Flash Gordon, where it's like, hey, it's the adventure of the week, it's the story of the week. Mm-hmm. The Clone Wars was the same sort of thing, especially early on. It was very much like story of adventure of the week time, until later in the end of season 1, you get the first arc. Well, no, actually, I take that back. You get some arcs, but yeah, as the series progressed, you get more longer arcs. But there were definitely moments where it's like adventure of the week. Clone Wars, not the Clone Wars, Rebels is like that. So I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and it could be they're paying homage to that. Star Wars is very much a serial sort of storytelling, but that's another gripe that I have, that, hey, we only got 8 episodes. Let's dig into some deeper waters here than just Plaisir 15, and now, in retrospect, that the season's ended, Dr. Pershing.
I can forgive most of the things in the episode from Plaisir 15, but I do also just want to say, like, the droid thing is still irking me, especially after seeing this last episode, where he goes and he makes IG-11 the freaking marshal droid, like,
yeah,
and he was thanking R5, like. It just seems it was so
15
it was so out of character.
Is very, like, it had moments that were fun, but it's a head scratcher.
Like, did they originally have that episode planned at a different part in the season?
It's a head scratcher, man. I don't know. I don't know. To me, this season really, I love that it got for the most part, got away from the adventure of the week. That was one of my gripes with season 1 and season 2 at times with The Mandalorian, is the story of the adventure of the week. I'd rather the story of The Mandalorian be told kind of like we had a more overarching central story. But yeah, I do think that there were some issues with this season. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but I did really enjoy it. I want to say that I really enjoyed this season a lot. I think it's my favorite, but there are some things that I can nitpick with.
Fair enough. Yeah, I did really enjoy it overall. I know the last like 10, 15 minutes, we haven't really been like, it's been the things that we've had issue with, but I did really enjoy it. I did really enjoy the finale. I'm kind of curious to see, like, to rewatch all 3 seasons soon and kind of see how I feel about it afterwards.
That's an excellent thought. I haven't done a Mando rewatch in a while.
I know we've watched like bits and pieces and like rewatched episodes, but yeah, I kind of want to do a rewatch from the beginning.
We're both right now watching The Man in the High Castle, which is a very underrated show.
Right. I'm just laughing because we're both like we started at different times.
Well, I'm so pumped that I got you into watching it because it is an excellent show. Not the world's greatest show, but it is very good, and I feel like it's a very underrated show and one I would highly recommend.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm catching up. I can't wait till we can talk about a little bit more.
So I think that's probably everything I want to say about The Mandalorian. I really enjoyed this season. I had a lot of fun with this season. You hear me say this all the time. As a YouTuber, I'm kind of like relieved when a season ends because I'm like, oh, a lot of work to do this stuff. Again. I can take a little bit of a breather.
You know you're going to be missing it, especially like you're going to get back into it when Visions comes out.
That's what I was going to say, that like next week I'm going to it's going to be Wednesday. I'm going to say to you like, man, this sucks. We don't have Mandalorian to watch. Or The Bad Batch. Like,
but I won't miss doing the YouTube part of it.
No.
Or the screenshots. Okay, couple weeks break, then you can do this for Visions.
Oh, I cannot wait for Visions. I'm so excited for Visions.
Yeah, this is fun. I'm excited to actually go rewatch this episode again.
So yeah, I really want to watch this episode again. We'll watch it at some point, maybe over the weekend or something. So with that said, subscribe to Star Wars Transmissions, you jabronis. Like this video. Let us know down in the comments what you thought about the season finale of The Mandalorian and the season as a whole. I think this season might wind up being a divisive one. I think that's what I'm seeing is you might love it, you might hate it. I think that's going to wind up being the case with this season. And hey, if it's not your thing, that's totally cool.
There's plenty of Star Wars to go around now.
Star Wars. Yeah, I try to. You've heard me say this, Danny girl. No Star Wars is better than, or any Star Wars is better than no Star Wars. It's like coffee, man. Any coffee's better than no coffee, and that's my take on Star Wars. So subscribe to Star Wars Transmissions. Follow us on TikTok. Like Danny girl mentioned, I have a TikTok, and I'm bad at posting on there sometimes, but
you're like good at posting, bad at replying to the myriad of videos I send you. And I'm like, look at that. It's so cute. Watch this video.
I'm so busy, Danny girl. I work my buns off, girlfriend.
But
yeah, we got shorts that we drop, videos that we drop. I'm hoping that by this weekend, I will finally have my computer built. And just in time for Jedi Survivor, because I cannot freaking wait for Jedi Survivor. I 100% intend to stream Jedi Survivor. I'm so pumped. I'm reading Battle Scars right now, and I'm really enjoying Battle Scars right now, and I think you would enjoy it, Danny girl.
Nice. I will have to add that to my list.
Yeah, it's
get it done.
been a lot of fun. So I'm so excited for Jedi Survivor. So I think I'm gonna go play some Halo. I think I'm probably gonna get. Although the last few nights I've been kicking ass. And I was in a little bit of a slump there for a handful of nights, but now I'm moving and grooving.
You're gonna play Halo, and then you're gonna switch over to the show for a while, and then not come to bed until like 12:30 in the morning, and you're like, "Why am I so tired?" The next day.
Guys, my wife knows me. my wife knows all about me. She knows who I am.
Yeah.
But yes, gonna play some Halo. Gonna play some the show. I hope the Yankees are winning. Yeah, we got the Yankees to watch too, and we got the Rangers also in the playoffs. So a lot going on in Danny Boy's life. So with that said, my friends, we're gonna get the night moving and grooving. I'm gonna let you go.
Have a great evening.
Have a great evening. Thank you for joining us. And may the Force be with you.